everyone, my respected seniors, colleagues, as well as the resident here. So today I will be presenting the most basic thing in radiology, that is X-ray, its basics as well as its advanced. So it is the most common modality and it is very simple and inexpensive. Yet it is very simple, but it helps a lot in diagnosis, and especially it gives a clue like what next investigation to be done for the patient. So in a chest X-ray, there are mainly four basic things. One thing is projection, which is the part of the X-ray machine, and other three things are related to the patient. One is the depth of penetration, like how much X-rays are penetrating the patient, and other one is its rotation. And one more thing is depends on the patient, how much he or she is inspiring, and so that better visualization of the lungs can be done. So projection, in projection there are mainly three views, three standard views, that is PA view, AP view and lateral view. So there are some additional views also, such as decubitus view, oblique view, lordotic view, and some other films such as expiratory films can be taken, which are mainly there for pneumothorax and diaphragmatic movements. I think residents, if they will listen to this talk, it will be very helpful them for in future practice also. So first is PA view. In PA view, it is very important that, I think this is not most important, that how the X-rays are coming to the patient and how he or she is standing is important. X-rays in PA view are coming from backside to the patient, and patient is standing straight and facing the cassette, and his chin is elevated, placed over the cassette, and hands are placed over the hips posteriorly. And the distance is approximately 6 feet between the X-ray tube and the cassette. The important point is that when we keep both the hands over the hips, what it helps is it helps us to eliminate the shadow or the radio opacity of the scapula bone into the lung fields. So that is the reason we are telling the patient to keep both the hands over the hip region. And AP view is mainly done either in infants, those children to whom we cannot say to stand and to take inspiration. Another thing is the sick patient, where we do the X-rays most commonly over the bed itself. And in this case, the patient will be lying down on the bed and the radiations or X-rays are coming from above, and the cassette we keep just behind the patient or below its mattress. Here the distance is usually less than 6 feet, and there is one disadvantage. The major disadvantage is the magnification of the mediastinum. See, there is one basic concept that if we keep a light source here and an object here, whenever the light source and the object are very close, the image whichever is formed on the wherever it is, so it will be larger. As soon as we move this object away, the image will be smaller. So similar concept is applied here. See, in this first image, the X-ray, the heart is lying away from this X-ray tube, and in the AP view, heart is toward the X-ray tube. So what is doing is that whenever we do an AP view, the cardia will be slightly enlarged. See, the first image is PA view and the second image is AP view. In PA view, you are able to see that cardia is not enlarged, but in PA view, it is appearing slightly enlarged in AP view. So here in this first image, the clavicles are lying above the lung field and the medial end is lying within the lung field. But in case of AP view, the clavicles are lying above the lung field. But here, the lung pathology we are not able to very well delineate the lung pathology in AP view. So to see the lungs better, we do PA view only. In the PA view, scapula lying away from the lung field, as I have told that we keep hands over the hip. But in this case, scapula border In this view, that scapula border can be seen within the lung field, so it is obscuring the lung field in AP view. And in PA view, there is no cardiac magnification. However, in AP view, the cardiac magnification is seen. Here, whichever is our side of interest, what we do is the side of interest we keep closer to the cassette wherever we need to take the image, and arm the rays above the head and mid-axillary line coincident with the middle of the film, and central ray at right angles to the midline of the cassette at mid-axillary line. So what are the uses of lateral chest X-ray? See, to lateral chest X-ray we usually do not recommend to the patient. We usually recommend only if there are some findings in X-ray PA view. So just to locate as well as to confirm the pathology which has been identified on chest X-ray PA view. So in PA view or AP view, there are some locations which are hidden, such as apices, which can be seen on lateral view, and superimposition of heart. Because of heart, some pathologies can be missed, so it can be better visualized in lateral view. And some pathology which are behind the diaphragm, which are not visualized in PA view, can be visualized in lateral view. So what is the difference between supine X-ray and versus erect X-ray? Like what are the things where we can do supine or erect? So usually erect is always better as lungs are more expanded, and if there are air fluid levels, they can also be seen due to gravity. And gradient in the vessel size. Vessel size means the vascular marking will be there on the lung, and these vascular markings are more prominent or more can be visualized in PA view. And another thing is better positioning and control over respiration can be done in PA view, and stomach bubble can also be seen just below the left diaphragm in PA view. So another important finding or important aspect of the X-ray chest is like how will we say is it a satisfactory inspiratory film or it is unsatisfactory inspiratory film? See, we have to count the anterior ends of the 6 ribs. This is the anterior end 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the anterior end of the ribs, and the posterior end are usually stated kind of such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Are you able to see, right? So these posterior ribs if we count, so usually they should be 10 so that we can say it is full inspiration, or anterior rib should be 6 so that we can say it is full inspiration. If these ribs are not seen, there is high possibility that you will be able to miss the basal pathology in any chest X-ray. So it's better to see it is adequate film or inadequate film. See, another option, another possibility that in inadequate respiration, heart is appearing enlarged here. However, and these vessels are more prominent. This vessel crowding at the base, you can imagine that you can think that it is some pathology, but it may be due to just under-inflated lungs. So sometimes it stimulates the cardiac failure also. So it's better to see that it is full inspiratory film. This X-ray shows an adequate inspiration, so that now we are able to clearly see the basis in this X-ray. So another thing is penetration. Penetration is part of the X-ray machine, like whoever performs the X-ray. So ideally the end plates of the lower thoracic vertebrae body just visible should be through the cardiac shadow. Here we are able to see this is an adequate film. And if it is over penetrated, you will be able to see these intervertebral discs in between these vertebrae. There is one this radiolucent line, so this represents intervertebral disc. So if you are able to see these intervertebral discs, it means it is over penetration. So definitely lung pathology will be missed. And in case of if it is under penetration, see even vertebral bodies are not seen in this X-ray. So this X-ray is also not adequate and definitely going to miss the pathology. Now comes to the rotation. See how we check the rotation is very important. See, there is one line which should be lying within the center of the spine, and this line should be equidistant from the medial end of the both the clavicle. This clavicle medial end, it should be equidistant in both sides. So this is properly centered, non-rotated film. But here if you will see, this side appearing more wider than this side, so it is a rotated film. Remember this, that whichever side is lying away from the film means towards the X-ray source. So that will be enlarged as I have told you earlier. So this line, this side is appearing more enlarged, this side lung is appearing more enlarged, even hilum of this side also is more hypodense. So it is clearly saying that this film is rotated. So rotated film also, some pathologies can be missed and it can be a cause of misdiagnosis. Now coming to interpretation of the X-ray. So there are few things which we have to see in overview. One is airway. See, this is the chest X-ray and you can see this radiolucent line. It is a trachea and this process coming from the vertebrae is spinous process. These are both side hilum, right side hilum, left side hilum, and this is aortic knob or the location of the aortic arch, and this is the carina where trachea is getting bifurcated. We can see the clavicles. This is costophrenic angle, right side. This is costophrenic angle, left side, and these are the costocardiac or cardiophrenic angles. And I will be dealing further like what are parts in X-ray, that heart, how it looks. This is the location of right atrium and this is the location of left ventricle. So first coming to the airway, see tracheal lumen appear radiolucent shadow in an X-ray and it is just central or just towards right side of the midline. Normal, maximum coronal or sagittal diameter. In case of female are 21 to 23 mm. However, in case of male it is 25 to 27 mm in Indian males, in Indian patients. And the trachea bifurcates at the carina and there is one angle which is formed between these two bifurcations. So that is known as carinal angle. Usually it is 60 to 75 degrees in case of normal healthy individuals. So now coming to the cardiac shadow and mediastinum. See, this is the boundary of the mediastinum and this is the boundary of the cardiac. So there are some markings like what all things they represent is important point to know. See, this is one thing, this is known as right paratracheal spine. This one is left paratracheal spine. This is arch of aorta and this is representing main pulmonary artery in left side. Here the location is related to auricle of the left atrium. This is left ventricle and below is the fat pad. And in right side it is right atrium, IVC, superior vena cava, arch of A like a swing, and along with this superior vena cava here also it is represented. Now coming to the chambers of the heart which are seen on X-ray. It is very important to understand. See, we usually think that right side is right and left side is left, that is true. But in all of the four chambers, it is not lying exactly as we have learned or imagined from our childhood. This right side is right atrium. Below one is right ventricle. And the left side is left ventricle. And this small part, which is appearing here green, represented by a green picture, this is left atrium. So the below pathology, whichever is related to the diaphragm, usually it is affecting right ventricle. And left side is left ventricle and right side is right atrium. So it is not right ventricle in right side on a chest X-ray PA. However, in lateral view, it is a bit different. Anteriorly is right ventricle and inferiorly or posteriorly it is left ventricle. And above it is left atrium. So if you want to see any pathology related to left atrium, you need to do lateral chest X-ray. You will not be able to diagnose on a PA view or AP view. So now coming to cardiothoracic ratio. So it is very common to say it is cardiomegaly or it is not cardiomegaly patient. So cardiomegaly, there is one basic thing ki how you will calculate that the patient is having cardiomegaly or not. See, this is the center of the spine. So we draw a line on a you can draw with the pencil or whatever resources you have on a chest X-ray. And from the midline, whatever is the extreme right heart border of the patient, you have to calculate this length and consider it as A, as well as the left heart border, whatever is the maximum distance, you have to calculate as B. So just combine them A plus B and divide by total these two lines. So what are these two lines? These are the costophrenic angles, like whatever the last costophrenic angles, sharp right is there. So you have to calculate these two lines and divide. So this comes as cardiothoracic ratio. Normally is less than 50% in adult, and in kids or infants it is seen approximately 55%. See, if it is a good centering, so approximately 2/3 of the cardiac shadow lies to the left of this midline and 1/3 to the right side. So now coming to mediastinum, in a lateral chest X-ray, so there are three imaginary lines which differentiate between anterior mediastinum, middle mediastinum and posterior mediastinum. See, anterior mediastinum is bounded anteriorly simple bony structure known as sternum, and its posterior boundary is marked by anterior part of trachea as well as cardiac border, and the middle mediastinum anteriorly this boundary only, and posteriorly a vertical line drawn just anterior to the thoracic vertebrae, 1 centimeter approximately anterior, and the posterior mediastinum boundary is 1 centimeter posterior to this line. So this is how it is divided, mediastinum, into anterior, middle and posterior part. And now coming to the proper X-ray, see, this X-ray, this is anterior mediastinum. What it contains? It is containing our most important structure, that is heart. Another thing is fat, some lymph nodes, thymus and thymus ramens, as well as a sending node. In middle mediastinum, trachea, bronchi, usually respiratory things are there, as well as esophagus. And this region is most likely having only posterior vertebral, paravertebral soft tissues. So now coming to another two lines, that is paraspinal line. See, in a PA view, you are able to see this one line. This is usually in left side. So what is this? So this is known as paraspinal lines. Usually it is an interface between lung and the pleural reflection over the vertebral bodies. So left paraspinal line is more commonly seen than right because it is approximately bigger in comparison to right side. See, left paraspinal line is approximately 10 mm wide, less than 10 mm. However, right side it is in 3 mm. So it is very less in size. The left side is more prominent because of descending thoracic aorta. So now coming to diaphragm. So diaphragm, it's a lot of time misconception is there कि someone say कि the right diaphragm is elevated, left diaphragm is elevated. So how will you say? So right diaphragm is usually always higher than the left side, and it is approximately taken as 3 cm, 2.5 to 3 cm. It is always higher. If it is more than 3 cm, maybe 4 cm, 5 cm, then you must consider the elevation of the diaphragm. The cause can be anything. It can be due to diaphragmatic palsy, it can be due to some liver pathology, some abscess, anything. So this criteria is important. If it is only 3 cm difference, then you can relax. Otherwise, you have to think the cause. Another thing, how will some people say that there is flattening of the diaphragm? So normally, the peak of the heavy diaphragm, how will you say there are two lines? This is cardiophrenic angle and this is costophrenic angle. So both of these, we have to meet this point and make a line, and another line to be just parallel to it and cutting the top edge of the diaphragm. So difference between these two should be 1.5 cm. If it is less than 1.5 cm, then we say it as a flattening of the diaphragm. Both of the sides, it is the same criteria. So now, see, now the CP angle. Normal CP angles are acute and sharply defined. So I want to tell you one funda that whenever there is an air anywhere in the body, so that structure which is either lying within the X-ray, within that air or around that air, that structure will be well defined. You will be able to see that structure very clearly on an X-ray film. So that is why it is well defined is because it has got air within. So both of these angles are sharply demarcated. And cardiophrenic angles are not sharply demarcated because of the cardiac fat pads lying within them. Now, these are the same angles, but there is one more angle that is known as posterior costophrenic angle. Sometimes the patient says that he has got thoracic pain, but on PA view that these angles are clearly visible in PA view, but if we do the lateral view, then you are able to see that costophrenic angles are complicated. So that will be like minimal pleural effusion, which you can see on lateral chest X-ray. Now coming to lung lower anatomy. So right lung is divided into upper, middle and lower lobes on the basis of horizontal and oblique feature, which I will be explaining later. And left lung is usually divided into upper and lower lobes by oblique fissure. So right side there are two fissures, however left side there is only one fissure. So one is oblique fissure, which is major, and horizontal fissure, which is minor. Sometimes in some patients, some additional accessory fissures are also there, such as azygous fissure, superior accessory fissure, inferior accessory fissure, and left side horizontal fissure. Now, lot of people will say, how will you see which fissure is lying there? See, oblique fissure, how will you see? Oblique fissure on a PA view cannot be seen. You cannot see oblique fissure on PA view or AP view. You have to take lateral chest X-ray. On lateral chest X-ray, you have to draw a line from T4 to T5, and the line should be going through the hilum and reaching near the anterior cardiophrenic angle. And in left side, it is slightly behind, approximately 5 cm behind the anterior CT angle. And so horizontal fissure, how will you see the horizontal fissure? Horizontal fissure you can see on PA view. Just you have to see the sixth rib in axillary line. This is the axillary line, so you have to sixth rib, and from here it is starting. That horizontal fissure can be seen on chest X-ray in PA. So representing lobes in lungs PA. So a lot of time there will be an opacity, and you will be asked or you will be surprised where this opacity is lying. So usually right lung upper zones, you will see that this is right lung upper lobe. If there is a pathology which is lying here, so it should be right lung upper lobe. And this one should be right lung middle lobe. And right lung lower lobe usually superimpose these areas. So this pathology overall can be right lung lower lobe. So it will go here, and middle and lower lobe can be seen here. Similar in case of left lung. So left lung lower lobe pathology can be seen in this full region, and left lung lower lobe along with lingula can be seen in this region. There is some division like left lung upper division you can see here, and similar things can be seen in lateral view. Now coming to an oblique or rare fissure such as azygous lobe fissure, a lot of time some X-ray will be there, and you will be surprised to see there is some kind of lobe here. So that is azygous lobe. So how this azygous lobe forms is, it is usually demarcated by azygous vein at its lower end, and failure to normal migration of the azygous vein and persistence of invaginated viscera and parietal fluid. So usually azygous lobe is smaller and therefore less transradiant than the corresponding normal lobe. Sometimes only this azygous lobe is blocked or maybe radio based, so you can say that azygous lobe consolidation is there. Now coming to vasculature, pulmonary blood vessels are responsible for branching linear marking within the lungs. They usually gradually taper in the periphery. In erect film, upper zone vessels are smaller than the lower zone vessel, but this gradient is not seen in supine film. So what is the criteria? Maximum diameter of the descending branch of the pulmonary artery is approximately 16 mm in male and 15 mm in females. Upper lobe veins lies anterior to the artery, and at the first intercostal space, normal vessel should not exceed 3 mm in diameter. So This is one X-ray. You are able to see that this area is also obliterated, right side as well as left side is also obliterated. So this, as I have told earlier, representing the AP window, that pulmonary window. So this patient is mostly having pulmonary hypertension. So now coming to the lines which is lymphatic runs in interlobular septa, connecting subpleural lymphatic and draining via deep lymphatic to the hilum. Normal lymphatics are not seen, but thickening of lymphatics and surrounding connective tissue can be seen. See, usually when it will happen is because when pulmonary capillary blood pressure reaches up to 20 to 25 mm, and normally it is 4 to 12 mm mercury. This is very important and confusing topic. A lot of you can be asked in Viva, those who are giving exams. See, what are the lines? These are the currently A lines, B lines, C line, D line. So I am giving you a brief thing so that you can remember for your future that linear opacity is extending from periphery to the hilum caused by distension of anastomotic channel between periphery and central lymphatic. So how I remember is currently A line are due to anastomosis, currently B lines. These are the horizontal lines and they line in the lung periphery and extending up to pleural surface. They represent the thickened and edematous interlobular septa. And currently C lines are the short line. They form a reticular pattern on the chest X-ray and they do not reach the pleural surface. Currently D lines are the same as B lines, like in periphery they can see, but they are only seen on lateral chest X-ray. So here you are able to see that these are the currently D lines, these are the currently A lines, and this is currently C. So I will be presenting you some signs in the chest X-ray. So one is Silhouette sign. What is Silhouette sign is that wherever there are cardiac borders, so these cardiac borders will be obliterated by the respective pathology of nearby lesions. See, if in case of this azygous arch, if there is some obesity, then this right upper lobe will be involved, and if aortic arch is involved, then left upper lobe will be involved, and descending thoracic aorta, left lower lobe will be involved. So here, right upper lobe consolidation can be seen. Now coming to hilar convergence site. It allows a large hilum due to enlarged pulmonary artery to be distinguished from enlargement due to a tumor. If a mass lesion, there are some pulmonary vessels which are lying or converging to medial of the mass. It directly means that it is related to the mass. See, if these lines are lying above the pulmonary mass or the mediastinal mass, so most likely it is due to vascular anomaly, maybe not due to mediastinal mass. Another is hilum overlay sign. If something, if the hilum or the convergence of vessels is lying medial to the mass, so definitely it is the cause of the mass. See, these are the vessels which are converging medial to the mass. So this is the mediastinal mass. So it is not vascular in origin. This is mediastinal mass only. Now coming to thoracoabdominal side, a sharply marginated mediastinal mass visible through the diaphragm on a chest X-ray that is in contact with the air. So therefore, I told you it must lie within partly within the thorax, means if there is some mass and you are able to delineate its boundary very clearly, it means some air is lying around it. So if a mass you are able to see near diaphragm but its upper margin is seen, so it means it is lying within the thorax. Some part at least it is lying in the thorax. And here is one more sign. See here, if the mass lower boundary is narrowing down just along the spine, it means its boundary is clearly seen, it is lying in the thorax. However, if the mass lower boundary is not narrowing down along the vertebrae, it means the mass is partly abdominal also. Now coming to cervicothoracic sign, it is very important sign to distinguish that the mass in upper lobe is lying either anterior lobe or posterior lobe. So here you can see the anterior lobe of anterior part of the lung lies within the clavicle bone. So if any mass is lying above the clavicle bone interior, it means this mass is extending posterior part of the upper lung. So another thing is last, that spine sign. So usually in lateral view, the spine vertebra can be seen very clearly, and they are coming already as translucent. But however, if anything they are not translucent, it means some pathology, there is some consolidation of lower lobe is seen. And coming last to air bronchogram, it is very common that we can see the air space filling. Air-filled bronchi becomes visible when surrounding lung parenchyma is fluid or pus-filled, suggesting consolidation. Thank you.
Very informative talk on left axis. This is a both from jump to the diagnosis. Instead of examining the X-ray, display display.
If you are listening attentively, I suppose you should come with questions. Because this topic was very well taken up by Dr. Ravishu. Ajit, Dr. Ajit,
I think we have a 15-day clinical posting in second year in radiology. It starts with a wonderful mapping of the X-rays and ends up with mugging up 4 short essays. You have 20 marks in radiology. This is the beauty of a CME, when right from the medical college all the X-rays are explained at this CME. Thank you, Dr. Ravish. I invite any DMP student, please, at least one single question is the price that we pay for this wonderful lecture. At earlier it sounds it's a part of a radiographer or a technician, but as the discourse of the lecture is delivered, we tend to register. This is where if you are very well versed with all the geometry and arithmetic of the X-rays, you can delineate the pathology. I hope more questions.
anybody from the audience, please, or should we go on with our felicitation ceremony? Nobody?
I invite Dr. Anita Bansal, gynecologist consultant at DCHSR. She will be felicitating the speakers. And I also invite the chairperson to please come forward.
Something about Dr. Ravish, he is husband of Dr. Divya Mohan, as dermatologist. And ये एक दिन भी हमारे सिविल हॉस्पिटल में आए थे, तब इनका बहुत ही बिटर एक्सपीरियंस था. तब इनको जिस दिन ये आए थे इनसे 4 पोस्टमार्टम्स करवा लिए थे. तो ये अपना रेजिग्नेशन लिख के ये बोले कि मैं जा रहा हूँ, मेरे से नहीं हो पाएगा. And he left. So we lost a gem, but he is here today and given a very engrossing talk. So thank you, Ravishu. Dr. Ravishu. And our dear dynamic DMS, Dr. Lata, 2 dynamic ladies on stage, Dr. Anita and Dr. Lata. A big hand for them. We are good friends also. So am I. So am I. Okay, thank you all.